Amber Kane, creativity educator and textile designer, and today I'm going to give you a little bit of insight as to how I got into designing my own scarves. So the truth is, it sort of happened by accident. I took one weaving class when I was in college, getting my undergraduate degree in art education, and I really just took the weaving class because I needed a studio class, and it's one that fit into my schedule. I honestly was really not that fabulous of a weaver. The first piece that I made was an absolute disaster. And I liked weaving, but I honestly didn't love it. So I went on, finished college, graduated, got a teaching job, and was really feeling like I wanted to get back into making art for myself and not just making the art that I was teaching about. And my kind of two interests were I was still interested in fibers and weaving, and I was also really interested in pottery. But weaving just goes into your house a lot easier than pottery does. So I convinced my husband that I should buy a loom and that I could take over one of the bedrooms in our house for my studio. All seemed like it was a really great idea until I sat down at the loom and was working on following patterns from a book, and everything that I made was a disaster. Pieces had holes in them and there were all kinds of knots, and I was so incredibly frustrated and really just wanted to throw in the towel and give up on weaving. The only thing that kept me from giving up was the fact that I had just bought this giant loom, and I knew my husband was going to be so frustrated with me if I just never used it. So kind of my last ditch effort was I went to Google and started trying to look up the book that I was using to see if I could figure out what in the world I was doing wrong. So in this process, I found out the book was on recall because it was missing direction pages. So there was a clear answer as to why nothing I was doing was working. Now, looking back, a logical person probably would have just gotten a different weaving book. But I've never really been accused of being incredibly logical, especially right in the moment. So my response was, okay, I'm never going to follow directions again, and no more patterns, no more books, no more directions are allowed in my studio. Kind of side note, although I'm a teacher, I'm also really bad at following directions. So it was kind of like the worlds collided. I threw directions out the window and decided to just start doing whatever I wanted. And so that is how things like this piece that I'm modeling today started to happen. I stuck to that, so it's 7 years later, which is kind of hard to believe, from when I bought this loom and was ready to give up. And I have really stayed true to that. There are no weaving direction books in my studio. I have never followed another pattern. I make up everything that I go along. And so why you benefit from this really disastrous and frustrating time in my life and in my weaving studio is because these pieces that come off the loom are really truly these works of art. So I'm blending the idea of painting and drawing. Sometimes there's a little inspiration from jewelry design all coming into these pieces. And so you're getting these really fabulous, one-of-a-kind, hand-woven textiles that make such a statement when you put them on and are really designed to just make over every item in your closet. And if you saw my closet, you would totally believe me. I don't actually have that many clothes, but I get compliments all the time, and it really boils down to the awesome scarves and the amazing different ways that you can wear them. Also, all of the pieces, because I'm thinking about them as a painting and not necessarily as a textile, so textile design is normally very repetitive in the pattern. I'm not really interested in that. I'm really interested in asymmetry and overall composition. So the pieces that you're getting and the asymmetry to them allow you to take this one scarf and look at that, just switch the side, and it's suddenly a different piece. They also transition really fabulously to table runners, so as decoration in your home, draped over chairs and couches, or even hung on your wall, because of the fact that I really approach them as paintings instead of as the repetitive natural pattern that you normally get from a textile. So that's a little bit of a window, a peek into how I went from being someone that was originally really attempting to follow traditional weaving patterns and rules into just totally being freed, doing whatever I want, and making really, really interesting pieces that are excited to come into your home. If you want to check out more of this work, jump over to ambercain.com and you can find out more about all of the wonderful textiles.